John was just talking about. There's another subdivision that's going in off of Bay Road. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's again off of 12. What they're going to do, McHenry is, because of the Riverwalk, because of added restaurants and shopping, they've got more shopping in McHenry. They are going to come down Bay Road, turn on Coleman Road, get on Lincoln, and here we go down our stretch of road. Like John said, it used to be a lot of, when most of the subdivisions that were there, Belmar Country Estates, was developed by actually my girlfriend's father, and he did both sides of the road. And 90% of the subdivision was airline pilots. And that was what was there. So they were at that time, back in the 60s, they were really nice homes. It is so changed. I mean, their kids have grown, they're gone, empty nesters. Now we've got all these new people that are moving in, younger families with kids, school buses stopping. And like John said, we have a school down on the corner of Lincoln and Chapel Hill. It's not a full 8th grade school, it's a middle school. So now you've got most of the kids there, they want to ride their bikes. I cringe when I see them going down the road and I look and think of all this traffic that's on the road. And like John said, they're not going the speed limit. They're not going to 40, they're not going to 45. They're making that turn at 50, and then they're punching it, and they go flying past my house. They're going 60, 70 miles an hour. It's crazy. I don't want to see somebody get killed. I mean, like John said, rollovers into his yard. If there's a guardrail that's there that catches most of them, but if a little bit past that guardrail, they're into his pine trees. It's insane. I just don't know why we can't lower this in that area down to 30 miles an hour. And then put up a sign that said somewhere in that vicinity saying it's going to be this warning. Speed limit changed, and it's going to be enforced. Now, whether we can get police out there to do that or not, that's another story. But I don't want to see some kid get killed and his books are laying out in the middle of Lincoln Road. I got a neighbor that has in his garage an extra post, and he has to put up a mailbox at least twice a year. So, thank you for your time. I hope you can consider what we're proposing and change the speed limit.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out today. Okay. Member comments. Do any members wish to speak today? Seeing none. Forward to the routine consent agenda. Are there any items you'd like to pull off?
Oh, no, it's on besides 1 and 2.
Besides 1 and 2. Okay. Seeing none. Is there a motion to approve 5.3 through 5.9?
I know.
Mr. Scala moves. Mr. Paul Thomas? Seconds that? Any conversation before we vote? Okay. Mr. Ms. Von Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Scala?
Yes.
Mr. Sager?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel?
Yes.
Mr. Kaminsky?
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, let's start with 5.2. Is there a motion for 5.2?
I'll.
Mr. Sager moves, Mr. Scala seconds. All right.
I think before we get the discussion going, we will have Transportation Planning Manager Drew Duffin give a quick highlights of it for committee members for the program, and then we'll take any questions that may come up.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Drew Duffin. I'm the Transportation Planning Manager here at DOT. I'll give my colleague here a moment to pull up the presentation. For those of you who may have read the entire 114 pages of this report, I commend you. That's great. I certainly would not have been among you if it was thrown up in front of me a few weeks ago. If you haven't, I'm right there with you. It's a long document, and it's taken a good amount of time to get this thing prepared for you. That said, this is an annual exercise that we do that goes through our expected revenues and then tries to plan those out as efficiently as we possibly can to make sure the taxpayers' money is going where it ought to go. So with that on to the next slide. Here. So we'll start with the big numbers here, financials. We're seeing, I will say we're anticipating that motor fuel sales tax revenues will remain strong in the future years here. We're looking until 2030. And we're also seeing that engineering and construction costs continue to outpace revenue growth. We also have updated our expected revenues with the matching and bridge funds to be updated to what was passed the county board at November last year. We're anticipating just above $196 million in terms of revenue over the next 5 years, which will then be amplified by additional revenue sources coming in the form of grants from the state, federal government, and coordination with local partners, be that Metro, be that cities and villages within the county, or anyone else who happens to be offered the grant. That said, we are seeing engineering and construction costs continue to outpace revenue growth, so we're seeing that the cadence of projects is slowing down slightly. There are fewer safety projects that get started. Not to say that they're not important, we're just trying to make sure that we're working within the means that we have available to us here. So all that said, we do have a fiscally constrained program this year after accounting for that federal and state revenue that I was mentioning earlier. What you'll see here is that we were just under programmed by about $2.2 million. That may be changed, of course, if there's any decision on improving the radios with agenda item 5.1 later this morning. That will be closer to about $300,000 under program. But again, we're coming really close to that over program position we've been in past years. So now on to a little bit more detail here. We have a handful of new projects that we've added into the program this year. The main ones are listed there with some page references for those of you who have the program in front of you. I won't go into particular detail here. I will highlight though, talking about the Road Vermont Road, the safety project. That's the primary new project that we have that is regarding safety. Typically we'd like to have more than just this one, but again, given the constraints that we have, one is about what we can program for safety. I'll also highlight the transportation sales tax for public safety. That sounds a bit vague, and what it really is the $500,000 for squad cars that was approved as part of the county budget last fall. So just making sure that that's shown here as part, since it's using RTA sales tax dollars, making sure that it's clear to the public what that exactly is going towards. And the last thing I'll show as well is our planning program database software. So this is a project that I've been spearheading with the help of Scott Hennings here to implement for the planning team over the next few months here. The way that we've handled updating our program here is a little old-fashioned. It's a lot of spreadsheets that connect to other spreadsheets, Word documents, and checking in and rechecking with staff here, our design team, our looking to see basically everyone here at the DOT. Not that it's particularly challenging, but it is particularly time-consuming. So we're looking into a database software that we're hoping to have going in the next few months. Of course, going through the procurement process and bringing that forward to you for approval when we get to that stage. But we are anticipating getting that implemented sometime this year. And that will just help this process be a lot quicker. It'll help things be a lot clearer and also be a lot more accessible to members of the public as well as yourselves if you happen to have any questions about particular projects going on here at the DOT. Then I'll go down to that bullet point there at the bottom. We also wanted to highlight that for the third year running, we have no new township bridges or culverts that are added to the program. What we have in the program related to township bridges and culverts are things that are currently underway, and that's what we've left it, at least so far. So we have a longer list of removed projects, and there's a variety of reasons why projects may have been removed. There is an appendix at the end of the program, so I won't go into particular detail, but there is some detail in the program that gives you a reason as to why we may have removed particular projects. Of course, also happy to answer any questions regarding those. I'm sure here at the DOT, myself and my colleagues will shed a lot more light on that if anyone happens to be curious about a particular project, but just wanted to highlight these are some of the major changes that we've seen between last year's program and this year's. So this is my final slide here before I give it back to the committee here. Due to loss of revenue from the matching bridge fund, we've seen we've anticipated a reduction of about $4.4 million over the course of the program, just from that reduction in the levies there. And then also with the public safety diversion with the squad cars there, these are big reductions in revenue that we've seen. So we've seen that the program is slightly smaller than last year's. I'll jump back to the first slide so you can see exactly what I'm referring to there. And that's kind of narrowed our priorities, as I've been saying throughout this presentation. We're really trying to focus on safety, focusing on our own county bridge network, trying to preserve our pavement, keep it in as good a condition as possible. But again, the cadence for those things is slowing down as a result of what we've seen change-wise. So before I turn back, I'll just show you what I'm talking about in terms of smaller revenues last year. So it might be hard to see, and I do apologize for that. But I'm looking at the top of the top table there. Rather the bottom table, I'm sorry. The bottom table, if you're looking at the expected revenues and expenditures that are highlighted in green for this current program, you're seeing about $389 million in terms of program expenditures, which is about $20 million less than what we saw from 25 to 29, which is the previous program just to the left of $410 million planned in expenditures. So that's really the number that was being looked at as we talked about these revenues. So with that, that's all I have in terms of presentation. Happy to answer any questions you have.
I'll open it to any questions anyone has. Mr. Scala?
So I'm glad you highlighted one of the things at the Fleming Road. So I'm assuming we're transferring that to Bull Valley?
That would be correct, is my understanding.
So, yes, this is a project that we worked hand in hand with Village of Bull Valley for the better part of the year.
Okay.
The jurisdictional transfer would be both with Bull Valley and the township, Greenwood Township. It's
Okay.
one of the sections unincorporated within that section, but obviously that would be brought forward for your consideration in the program. We wanted to be upfront and show that that is something that will likely be coming later this year.
So are we talking about from Country Club all the way up to 120?
That's correct.
And is the resurfacing strictly in, I don't want to get into what,
Yeah.
so
We can have a separate presentation on that if so desired, but anyone that's driven Fleming knows it's not in great shape.
Right.
It's been 11 years since we did a hold in place project.
Right.
It was 2013, 2014. So something needs to be done now with that road in good condition, whether that happens before or after the JT. That's something we can discuss. But the idea that we have, we would resurface it now, and then JT after the fact. That would be sort of our question. But we're open to having that discussion.
Okay. Well, I guess I think those two should go hand in hand, because I don't want to get into what happened 11 years ago with that.
Yes, nor do we. That's
so-
the reason it's in this program. We want to avoid the issues we ran into over it.
Correct. So I guess I'd like to have further discussion, not necessarily today on that, but I think that's a sensitive,
It is.
so,
And we knew this being the first time a lot of you saw that project, we knew there might be some questions. And obviously, again, we want to have more conversations about this. This isn't something that we want you guys to take a stance on today. That would be a future time.
I'll also add for most of the projects that you're seeing on the list, this isn't as though we're starting these immediately today. Safety, the big database software, that's taken some work, because we're working with a firm that provides that, but this is a programming document. This is where our intentions are, where our priorities are, not necessarily that we're putting pen to paper immediately.
well, you have it programmed in 2026, so that's pretty damn immediately, to me,
Fair
in my
enough,
words,
fair
so.
It's included in the budget you approved to, so we have sufficient budget for it this year. That is something we've been planning for. Yes.
Mr. Sager?
Yeah, just a few comments about the report, which I appreciate very much. It is a lengthy report, in-depth report, but I'm very grateful for the professional presentation, so thank you. With regards to the Fleming Road resurfacing and transition jurisdictionally, I am very supportive of this. Again, I think that Fleming Road resurfacing is something that should have been done few years back if we'd had the capacity to do that, but it's on the docket now, and I'm very, very pleased that we're looking at that. And I strongly concur with the transfer jurisdictionally. That's kind of like the Main Street through Bull Valley, if you will, and it belongs under their jurisdiction in my mind. A lot to talk about in that. I'm not minimizing it at all, but it's the right thing to do. So I will be supporting that as we move forward. I think I also want to express my acquiescence, but my concern with regards to the transfer of RTA tax monies to squad cars. I continue to be concerned about that particular type of action. I understand it. It is safety driven, and that's important, but I just don't think that that is a good direction for us to be taking overall as we move to the future. It's done, it's decided for this year. That's the way that it is, but I think we need to be cognizant of the impact that that has as we look at the future, especially given the fact that we're kind of 3 years behind, if you will, in improvements to bridges, and so continuing that direction isn't the strongest position in my opinion. Finally, with regards to the RTA sales tax, there's a big chunk this year, if you will, for radios, and we're going to discuss that momentarily. But that's one of those things where you have to do it every 7, 8, 10 years, I guess, 8 to 10 years. It's a requirement. I think we all agree that it's not just police; it's across the employee area, departmental area of oversight that it addresses. It's a big hit, though, to our capacity to make capital improvements, and so that concerns me, but it's one of those things that I just think we have to do every 8 to 10 years. It's going to continue that way for the rest of our lives. We might as well get used to it and swallow that. It's kind of like buying insurance. You got to swallow it. Paying taxes, you got to swallow it. This is one of those I think we have to swallow, but I want us just to be mindful of carefully monitoring and watching our transfer of RTA tax dollars from capital projects, which we have in policy agreed to do, committed to other areas. So I agreed to the budget. I will hold the budget, so that's done, but still is a part of my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kunkel.
Do you have any estimates to the cost of this data software?
Yeah, I believe what we are showing is, I can confidently say below $50,000 a year is what we're looking at. There's some startup costs that push the first year above closer to the $50,000 range, but in terms of overall subscription costs, below $50,000. I believe there should be some specifics in the program as well, so bear with me, I'd be happy to pull that up for you, but. We have programs $50,000. It'll likely be less than that, at least at first.
And I believe from historical memory that we'll make really good use of that software.
More than, as best we can.
You personally.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
I have one more question.
Okay, Mr. Scala.
What was the thought process behind the Main Street extension in outside of Huntley? Yeah.
So that's a project that has a long history. That project's been in our program, out of our program, in our program, but we've never really started a formal phase 1 engineering process to get that project going. The idea primarily is driven by the high school traffic. I mean, that really, if you can picture that area, that's right by Huntley High School, between 47 and high school, basically. And we know that there's issues during peak hours coming to and from school. But I think for us as an agency, we have other priorities that maybe take precedence over that one that's primarily driven by one school. And so hence the reason this program really focuses on what are our core priorities here. And that is not one of those projects that meets that threshold. So we took it out.
So I might add into that a little bit. I'd like to add into that. I'm really concerned about that also, because that traffic is only going to get worse, because that west side of Huntley there, all that farmland has slated to start developing next year, I believe. They're going to start building homes.
Yeah, well, north
And-
and south of Main
I mean, Grafton Township has had over 1,000 home permits last year, apparently, and it's growing like crazy. And for us to start to keep delaying some of these projects, and that's all through the whole county here, you know, and I'm considered on safety issues there, that we're going to, Main Street's just one of them. There's other ones we're delaying because of budget figures. We're delaying bike down Randall Road and all that. That was pushed back a year, I'm reading here, and different things, and some actually were removed from our plan, in our 5-year plan. And so I'm concerned because of our budget constraints. I just want to put that part out there.
Yeah, we obviously had to make tough choices on where to cut, right? And we had to find that line. What was such a priority to continue having it in the program, and what can maybe wait 10 years to be done?
And does this consider I think you don't have it in there, the 1.8 for the radios? That's not in this.
It's not in this document.
So do we have more things that will have to be removed?
So we didn't get into it, and I'll talk about this later in the agenda, but we recently received a $2.25 million grant for our Charles and Queen Anne intersection project. Because of that, if the radios are approved, we won't need to cut anything because we just got $2.25 million from the feds for the intersection project. Had we not gotten that grant just 2 weeks ago, we probably would be talking about further cuts to the program if the radios were approved today. But you know, the feds came through with the grant for us. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
I just have one more. So what's going on with the bridge match? Can you shed any more light on that, or?
You talking about the township bridge?
No, he's
Or
talking
No.
federal.
Federal.
Funding.
There's nothing new. I mean, there is no new federal. There's no new federal money for bridges. What we've already been given by IDOT is sort of what we have to live with. And at this point, they told us there's nothing additional coming anytime soon for the foreseeable future. So any new township or county bridge we add, you know, in 2020, 2030 is likely will not have federal funding match. Or if it does, it's not going to be 80%. It's going to be something less than that.
Or even if we start a bridge sooner than 2030, that's currently not in IDOT's list. There is no federal money available. Everything will need to be locally funded to advance any county bridges or township or anything like that.
So IDOT controls what we get from the federal funding.
Correct.
That's how that
Yeah, all
works.
federal
Just so
money flows
we're all
through the
clear.
state. Yes.
Right.
The state
Okay.
makes the decisions on how that federal money is programmed.
Okay.
So that, I guess I'm bringing that up for the next discussion and also just for purposes of the, you know, so a grant is great, but obviously we're gonna have, the county's gonna have more needs beyond this 5-year program that costs are going to be a problem. Because that 80% match is huge when it comes to, you know, a $4.5–5 million bridge, so.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I agree.
And I want to reiterate something Drew said earlier. In the construction industry and in the engineering industry, costs are going up faster than inflation. We know how fast inflation is going. And so the pressures we're facing as an industry is even more exacerbated than some of the other departments of the county that maybe aren't seeing the same types of inflationary pressures as we are. So to your point, Mike, less and less will be done in the future with the same.
And if that wasn't clear when Drew was saying it, when we develop this program, it is fiscally constrained on what our revenues are. And that, so as those revenues are, you know, less available or our dollar doesn't go as far, that's going to have impacts to the 5-year program.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, then we'll proceed to a vote. Mr. Sager,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel,
Yes.
Mr. Kaminsky,
Yes.
Ms. Von Bergen,
Yes.
Mr. Scala,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Okay. Now we're up to 5.1. I will note that we do have a couple of additional board members. Carolyn and John are in the room. Also, We got Carrie and Sandra in the room also on this one. If you guys want to join into this conversation, you are more than welcome. And we'll note that in our minutes when that happens. Okay, so I have a motion on Resolution 5.1. Ms. Von Bergen moves. Mr. Thomas seconds. Let's open the discussion. Let's talk about it first. Sandra, I'm going to invite you up to talk about it.
And I'm going to invite my partner.
Sorry to catch you off guard there, but I think we need to talk about it with some of the discussion that just came up.
So the resolution before you is twofold. It's to approve the radios from Motorola for the county departments and also approve the funding mechanism used for that. So back in 2015, I don't know who was even around 2015, but we started a remodeling project of our radio room. That included expanding our radio room from 6 to 9 dispatch seats, our consoles. It included working with Motorola on removing our water tower equipment and having Motorola take over those leases. It implemented a microwave redundancy system in the county because our T1 lines, this is really technical for me, that are underground were failing at some point, so we wanted to make sure we weren't dropping calls out on the field. Started in 2015. In 2017, we really started moving on a lot of the remodeling parts. In 2018, we were able to get our radios and start programming them and getting them out to not only the sheriff's office, but the other departments, including DLT, EMA, Health Department, Coroner's Office, State Attorney's Office. And then in 2019, which is the date in this resolution that Member Kunkel brought up yesterday, that's when we actually paid the bill for that project. So we've been working with Motorola, and we, being not me, my dispatch supervisor and our patrol lieutenants, on replacing the radios. We started in 2024 and 2025. We put it on our supplemental request for our budget, and I know there's a lot out there for you guys on all the programs, supplemental, our capital projects, and now we're here. So my side of the request is approving the radios. The finance side is the method of payment.
Okay?
Can we divide up the conversation into the finance side and then just the radio purchase side?
Sure, I'm all for that.
Because they're kind of two different things.
You want to talk about the radios first?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
So the quote that I have in here is from like 7 months ago.
So, yes, I'm required to include those in the supplemental
Yeah.
request that was due in June, so yes, it was from May.
Okay, and I'm making an assumption that I didn't see anything in the document that said this quote is only valid for, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days.
Correct. So we worked with, at that time, Mr. Austin, and we did a letter of intent with Motorola that said that to hold those prices, we knew we had to replace the radios in 2026. So they just wanted that letter of intent that we were serious about moving forward. And with that, they would hold the prices.
Okay.
I could probably easily get another updated one, but the only thing that's gonna change is that date.
Oh, I don't care about what the date is. I just want to
Okay.
make sure that if we go to give them a purchase order, they're not going to say, oh, well, that pricing was,
We are a good partner with Motorola, so they will not do it.
Okay. And then the second question is, what is their delivery as far as, I know you had just expressed that, there was a deliverable. Going back from memory, there was a slight deliverable issue back then. What's the deliverable for this situation now?
What do you mean? Logistically, or like when we have them in hand, implementing it and getting it out to our folks?
So I'm Motorola delivery a product to us.
We have the product.
We already have it?
Yeah, so they had offered, it's called a white glove training session, to get it out of their warehouse and get it over to us by the end of the year. So we had worked with Scott Key on how does that work? So they're sitting there on pallets, essentially.
But I think the advantage of doing that, and we talked with the chairman, is we know we needed the radios. Motorola wanted them delivered by December, and there is a value in them helping program the radios for the sheriff's staff, yes. So,
Okay. And the
And
only,
with that said, if you guys say, we're not doing this, they're on the pallets and they're going back. Hopefully that is not what happened, but that was a really difficult for us decision because we don't have a lot of space.
okay, one last question. I saw in their quote, there was payment for what I perceived as servicing, like a service agreement for multiple years.
Correct.
So we're paying for that service agreement up front for, it looked to be for 5 years.
My understanding is the quote is all inclusive. It's 3.1 million for product, and then the years of a subscription are included in the 3.7.
But what are we paying? What are we paying this fiscal year? And that's starting to get into the money side, but I'm just going to what I saw, what I read versus what's reality.
I'll have to go back for you. It's budgeted in the service.
Your question
And
is subscription service every 50,000 every year. Is that
Well,
what
I'm trying to find out if there's let's have that hold it. I'll hold it for the money side of it, but I'm just trying to understand what our outlay is cash flow wise.
3.1 is for the actual portable radio.
Physical product.
So, like with our Axon product, when I brought it forth, it was for the total amount, but we're technically paying every year a certain amount for the fee. So it sits on a PO and then it rolls over. So the money's, this is definitely your corner, but the money is put on the PO essentially, and then it continues for every year. So I'm not coming before you saying, we need this. And Motorola has that purchase order, so they know we've committed to those additional years of subscription.
Okay. I'll further that in the second half of it.
Okay. Mr. Kunkel.
Bifurcation is not your strong suit.
That's too big of a term. What does that mean?
To add some clarity to the context of my conversation from Law and Government yesterday, for those who worked in Law and Government, if you read the resolution as it was written, it looks like we only had 6 years service life out of these radios, and it's imperative that we get 7 to 7.5 on what piece of equipment, barring accidents, that is due to a 10-year service life. Or we are losing taxpayer money mightily to shorten that by a year or two. But as it was explained now, the PO is not cleared. We have had those, or had our technically moving into service since 2017. We've made our full life cycle on them. That was my question, that we were getting close use out of our assets. So I'm very comfortable on the radio side. Now we can bifurcate and move back to where Mike needs to be.
I'm here. It's all good.
Yeah, I agree firmly with Matt. I think we had a good discussion yesterday at Law and Government. We clarified. We are trying to be as efficient and responsible as we possibly can with the taxpayers' dollars with these. It is inevitable, as I stated earlier, that we're going to have to update these. They have a lifetime, and that lifetime comes, and we have to pay for that. And so we're at that point now where we have to do that. Again, I'm strongly reticent to go ahead and use the RTA funds for that, diverted away from capital projects, but it is what we need to do in this budget, so I'm happy with that.
Okay. Let's move over to the financing side as Mr. Scala of how we're gonna pay for this. So I'll let you start.
What the hell, am I a guinea pig here? Okay, so cash flow wise, I get that we can encumber the dollars, you know, I get all that. I'm just trying to understand, so I pulled up the quote again just so I could refresh my memory here. So it appears like you have several line items that are 7-year and 5-year terms.
Guaranteed rates. So,
Sure.
and Mr. Thomas brought that up yesterday. So like on page 4, DMS Essential, 7 years. Radio Central Programming, 5 years. Right, so those are, and that's kind of common in some of the areas that we work with when there's technology, where when that comes up, it's either going to change, and we have to sit back at the table and bring forth something. We had to do that this last time with Motorola in 2020, because there was a rate change. Or, and I doubt it'll stay the same, but if it stays the same, then it's not an issue.
Right, so we're locking in a price now for a term, right?
Yes.
But these things that are 5 years, I'm assuming they're going to be essentially needed for the life of the product. I'm naive in this
No. These are
whole radio,
questions.
so.
We are purchasing the radios off of the state contract.
Yeah.
Okay? So this state contract is not gonna be for 10 years. So at some point, the state's gonna renegotiate with Motorola as well. And I'm assuming that some of that is also, those 5 and 7 years, tied to what the state is doing. We don't have a contract per se with Motorola. So here's a quote that gives us additional savings off of the state contract with Motorola. So the additional years of subscription that we're paying for aren't for how many years does that go out? 4 or 5? So the radio itself should last at between 7 and 10 years. That's the life of the radio. But the services behind it, we're not necessarily locked into the contract with that. There's other moving parts on that. So right now, it's 3.7. In 2030, if the state renegotiates with Motorola and there's a change, Motorola's gonna have to come to us with that, and I'm gonna have to come before you guys and say, this is what they're asking for.
Okay, so to answer my question in short, the servicing of the product for the life of the product is not 100% included in this 3.7 million.
It's not, I'd have to make some assumptions about the life of the product as well, but 7 years, at least it should be. And for some of those that are just guaranteeing the rate for 5 years, smart mapping, smart locate, I mean, those things are constantly changing too, so we do anticipate.
So my assumption is that for the life of the product, there will be residual additional expenses beyond the $3.7 million.
I definitely can't stand here to say.
What was that number again?
Okay. Which one?
And I'm not trying to dance around
No,
it.
I'm just trying to be very
Oh, you got
clear about
percentages
what
already. Okay.
we're looking at here.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Mr. Kunkel?
But in actuality, we're piggybacking on a state contract.
Yes.
We are not negotiating, we're just getting the best deal we can get with a larger consumer, in this case being the state.
And I have worked with Shaylin, because some of the other chiefs throughout the county, they're smaller, you know, they don't have the same type of relationship with Motorola as us, so we're working with them to do the same thing that we're doing.
Okay, Mr. Sager?
I think it's worthwhile to identify some of the advantages here because we are kind of getting some greater efficiency, I guess, with regards to radios. And so rather than having 2 radios, we're moving down to 1 radio, correct?
So the state is really pushing for everybody to be on the same StarCom system for interoperability. Not everybody is quite yet, but we made that decision, you guys made that decision back in 2015 that we were going StarCom, and it's beneficial for everyone.
Well, I think the question was there's an offset because the mobile devices you have to put in squads
Correct.
can go away.
Oh,
because
sorry.
of the-
Right.
Yeah, so, yes, correct. And the mobiles are expensive. But with the efficiencies out there, there are, and trust me, my deputies challenge that because they don't want any downtime, drop calls,
Sure.
anything. So they take those radios, because we piloted them, and they went everywhere they could to try to prove there was an issue, and we did find them.
Okay. All right, couple questions then, when I talk about you talked about this being a supplement in the past and different years. Why don't we include this in the budget every year, or this year, this past year?
This was included in the capital list that was presented.
Okay.
If you remember.
But we're coming here to pay for it now.
So we presented in total about 7.2 million in capital request needs for the general fund, this being half of it. And we only ended up transferring about 2 million from the general fund for capital. So then we had to start looking at prioritizing that list, and then, you know, having enough money to do all the things that we have to do for the list.
Okay. So percentage-wise, I asked Joe here, how many radios we totally have is 5, how many is this?
It's like 590.
593.
593. Okay, and he's got a breakdown here of what transportation uses and what the sheriff uses. First question is of all the original radios that we bought, over 7 years, 8 years, how many have failed or no longer in service?
So I can't give you exacts, but they have been failing more, and we have to have a cache, and when they fail, we send them out to get repaired. And just like your iPhone, right? At some point, your battery only lasts 2 hours instead of 24 hours. That's kind of where we're.
So we've been repairing them and
Oh, yeah,
replacing.
we've been
Okay,
repairing.
that was my
Every year.
question. And then, so transportation, the sheriff's department uses 70.8% of these radios. Transportation uses 17.4%. EMA 11.8, and then the rest drops off there. Okay, so that's all a point I wanted to make is because of budget constraints here, trying to figure it all out. What does this require when it gets to the county board, since this is a change in our budget? What, is this a majority vote, or is this a super majority vote? Not for the committee, but for the board floor?
It's
On the-
super majority because we have the budget, so the capital budget, we just have the lump sum set aside, and then as we go through the year, the board can decide what to spend that. But we have to increase the RTA budget, so that requires.
Okay,
It's an emergency appropriation.
right, okay. Mr. Kunkel?
And because this is overarching, it reaches more than just transportation.
Right.
It is really countywide. I'm in Dr. Sauter's camp too, where I don't like to take RTA money for anything but transportation. But in this particular event, it covers the entire county. And as he said, every 7 to 10 years, we're gonna face this. The sheriff's department and other departments put in their budget to do the repairs, keep those things rolling and going as long as they can. Batteries, we know, is everybody's nemesis. I'm sure that's their chief complaint, is there's no batteries. And batteries are more expensive to acquire, and the older style, they don't make them anymore. So I think this is a have to, not a want to at this point.
Are there other options to pay for this besides RTA funds? Half of it's being paid out of the general,
The capital, yes.
the capital.
So we have an established fund specifically for general fund capital projects. And so the funding source for that is a transfer from the general fund. So what we've been looking at over the past several years is really using some of the excess money from the Lake County revenue and putting that, because then really it assigns it for one-time use only. So the model that I presented when we were talking about the budget really doesn't allow for much transfer from the general fund to the capital fund in out years. And so there is a current balance in the capital fund to cover this entire amount, but really then you have to start choosing what capital projects are going to be completed in the future and whether or not for general.
I guess my argument would be wouldn't it be better to delay some of our improvement projects in the county facilities or different things rather than safety projects in our transportation program, which is what we're doing here. We're going to be delaying other safety projects. Am I right when I say that?
Like everything, it's yes and no. There's nuances, right? Like Mr. Duffin developed this 5-year program to be fiscally balanced, revenues equal expenditures. And then 2 weeks ago, we got this $2 million grant from the feds. So that's $2 million that we were gonna have to pay for locally. Now the feds are paying for. That happened 2 weeks ago. So is there available funds in this 5-year program to go away from the transportation system to help the sheriff's office? Yes, there is. However, that's $2 million that we could have spent on a safety project that is not in the program because it's now going to be gone. And $2 million that is a project. So it all depends on how you look at it, is what I'm trying to say. Right?
It's a small project.
Yeah. Your car. Mr. Kaminsky.
Sandy, love you and respect what you do. But
But.
help me understand. Isn't there a mechanism or something, so we don't get into this bucket of manure again, that you actually know 7 years, 10 years down the road, we're gonna have to do this again, that you start pulling out of your budget, throwing that money in there? Also, is there any other little surprises coming up in this next year that we're gonna have to deal
Just
with?
like the
I know it's
cameras,
not on
this is a
topic
state
with
statute,
this, but
that's right.
Yes,
I've
yes.
heard about cameras or something that we're gonna have to replace that.
So,
Well,
yes,
And
we do
make money
have
like
that.
we do at Valley High.
we don't have the Valley High.
No, but you've got this account, you're earning interest on it that you know that you're gonna have to pay
Right.
10 years down the road,
So,
that we can't touch.
yes. So in budgeting, we don't really budget capital items in the sheriff's budget in Department 32. We provide and work close with the county on capital replacement items that we have an idea. Some of the digital technical stuff it's different than like cars. Cars we kind of can be more finite with. So this was on the table, and this, again, we did start in 2024 working with Motorola to see what this is gonna look like, how many radios. So it was out there, and it was out, we had it tucked away in different, was it supplemental? I submitted it as a supplemental, but Carrie said this is, obviously a capital replacement. Our consoles in the dispatch center are up in 2027. Our Axon body cameras, tasers are up in 2027. So we are working with those companies now to try to get, what that cost is gonna look like, so I can work with finance and at least put in front of you guys what that's gonna look like for you to decide if and how to pay for it.
Just to clarify, the sheriff's department is part of the general fund. So when we're talking about looking at capital needs for all general fund departments, that's why we.
I would
They
love
can't
to
set
keep
money
our missing
aside.
housing dollars and do little projects with it, but that's, the county has always been very supportive of our projects.
Yeah, and I think the question is, if we can anticipate an expense, a capital outlay project years in advance, that's where the capital plan really comes into play. So you can strategically plan for that big expenditure at a certain point in time, and then we can develop a capital plan based on priorities year to year in order to meet those key objectives, or in this case, mandates or requirements. So I think one of the things we want to work on internally is really getting a more robust capital plan presentation to the county board, so you have a greater awareness in the out years of what's going to be coming down the pipe. So we're not sitting here, it's not new, it's something that we had planned for, but it kind of feels like it's new and put on your table right before you now. So we want to get a little bit better with that.
So in 27, you're coming back with, I didn't quite catch it, tasers and cameras?
So our whole Axon system was a 5-year contract, and that was ARPA funds. That was one of the funds that during the budget presentation, you know, they're talking about how are we gonna continue on with these. It's gonna be the body cameras and the tasers. The in-car cameras are still good. So
Okay,
we're not
so
replacing
the
those.
cameras and not the tasers, but the cameras, that's part of this, we have to have those by state statute, right?
Yes,
This is
correct.
part of that unfunded mandate that was it the Safety Act that created
Yes,
that?
it was.
Okay. What's that gonna cost us? That's next
So-
year, so are you coming to us next year in the RTA
It's
for that
gonna
also?
it's gonna be part of, once, it's hard because they're gonna quote it for me probably in February. I'm gonna include it, you know, in the budget submission, and by July, they're gonna be pushing me to sign something and to hold rates, and it's gonna be a mess. But, we're looking at probably about 1.1 million over the next 5 years, is what I saw last year when they were trying to run Army into renewing early.
And that'll have to be paid in 27, the entire thing? Or
No,
we
that'll
can
be
split it
broken
for
down.
5 years, okay.
Yep. It'll look like leasing, but it's really just a 5-year.
Okay. Mr. Collins, board member?
Thank you, Mr. Chris. One of my recommendations, when we were asked recommendations on funding for 2026, was to put on the money, the RTA fund for radios. Okay. I did that recognizing your concerns, Jim, as well as the ones you brought up, Ryan, and the ones Mike brought up about using funds for normal expenses. Now, it's a capital project, but it takes away from other program expenses that we can't do, and that's our challenge. But, you know, this board voted this past November for austerity. That's what we voted for. We voted for to tighten our belts tremendously and to look under every corner and find every nickel, penny we could find. And that's what we're faced with. So this is something we have to do. And that's going to come at the expense of other things. And as a board, that's what we voted to do. And that's the challenge we're going to face, not just this year, but for the next, any number of years. And we're talking about radios and, you know, all these types of things and projects we're pushing off and putting off in transportation. And, you know, you just mentioned the potential capital projects to push off. But if we push those off, they're going to cost more money down the road. So this is the wall that we've dealt ourselves and we have to deal with. And unfortunately, or unfortunately, depending on the side of the fence you're on, you know, we've got this money sitting there that can be used for this. And while it does present its problems and challenges, I believe it's the right thing to do at this point in time. And certainly we're opening the door. What's going to mean next year and what's going to mean the year after. But again, as a board, we've decided, you know, we're not going to borrow money for transportation projects. You know, Randall Road is fully funded. We're not borrowing a single dime to pay for that huge project that's going on. And those are the decisions we're going to be faced with going forward for bridges and things like that. And we're just going to have to prioritize and continue to tighten the belt. So I'm in favor of doing this. I'll be voting for it, finance or on the board, reluctantly, but I will be voting to support it. Thanks, John.
Okay. Mr. Scala?
So Carrie, it's not quite a softball, but it's kind of a softball question. So what if the board were to use half of the money from capital and half of it from fund reserves?
From the general fund reserves?
Yes.
Again, that just gets back into the faster spend down of the reserves, which I think FY '25 might end a little bit worse even than I projected, so again, it's kind of just pushing it down the road.
Well, we had board members at our discussion when we were passing the budget that kept on pointing to our general fund reserves being above 5, which is the reason why they voted the way they voted. So if there is nothing there anymore, then they can't use that argument anymore, and perhaps they will see the light of day, but
Well, you know, I think we talked a lot about the months of reserve for the general fund where we're at now is slightly higher than where we should be. But the challenge is we have no mechanism to stop the down. You know, once we get to 5, we can't, ideally it would be perfect to get to 5 and just stay there.
there's no soft landing.
Exactly. So, again, we can use general fund reserve, it's available, but it just makes the problem faster. We get below 5 months, you know, instead of 28 or 29, maybe it's 27 or 28. You know, I'll refine that as we get our final numbers in for 25. But personnel came in quite a bit higher than we were anticipating. So that
Well,
continues to be the biggest issue.
I'm throwing that out there because that was, several board members brought that up.
Yes.
And used that as the reason why they voted the way they voted. And so there is a lack of, there is a challenge to see the future as far as that soft landing that you're talking about. That's not gonna happen because, you know, even when the budget was passed the way it was, we're spending down that reserve on reoccurring expenses, which, again, I was adamantly,
Yes.
you know,
This
against.
is the first year in a long time that we have reserves as a source of funding for operating expense.
Yeah, which the board had said that we didn't want to do that, but we still did that. So that was kind of a softball question, but,
Mr. Sager.
I want to kind of go to a little bit of a side commentary that was made in the reports, and it's a commendation, actually. It may seem strange that, you know, you all work with Motorola and we actually have this product in hand and it's right there in storage and it's ready to go. All we have to say, yes. Some would say that's the proverbial cart before the horse, right? But I commend you for that because that's exactly the type of administrative oversight decision that I would expect from staff to make, because it is the right thing to do financially, and it provides protection and efficiency. So don't worry about doing that from my mind. That's great. We appreciate
We really
it.
tried to not do things before the.
I understand that.
And they were pushing.
But there was some value to
Exactly.
the sheriff's staff in doing it this way.
Right. So I don't want you to feel like that was inappropriate. From my mind, I appreciate the fact that you could make that decision. It was the right decision. We don't do that all the time. We won't expect to do that all the time. But in this instance, it was for the best. Thank you.
Mr. Kunkel.
I make a motion to approve 5.1 to go before the committee of the whole.
there already
Wait
was
a
a motion.
second.
There already was a motion.
You got a motion?
Yeah, we got a motion on the floor already.
I just had one question for Sandy. You had mentioned yesterday in a conversation that there is some reimbursement of maybe around 500,000.
So ETSB provides reimbursement grants for money spent on the public safety aspect. So some of the smaller entities get 100% reimbursement on what they spend on radios from ETSB. It's only for the police side, right? Because the DOT isn't considered first responders, but the amount of money that's spent on the law enforcement side is reimbursable. So we will be submitting for reimbursement. We submit every year for the ongoing maintenance costs of reimbursement and whatnot from ETSP.
Would that go back into the RTA, or where does that money?
That's a question. That's a good question.
We get that every year, and some of it is, so when they submit for reimbursement, sometimes it's for the salaries for the telecommunications staff. So that goes back into the general fund.
So ETSB is talking about, and I don't want to talk on TE's behalf, but they don't know what their funding was going to look like, so they did not provide us the reimbursement, but the state came through at the 11th hour and provided the 911 surcharge reimbursement, so we do anticipate getting some money back. In fact, after yesterday's Law and Government, there was a lot of discussion about this, and she came up and reminded us of that.
It could be more, because in prior years it was higher.
Mr. Kaminsky, oh, you're done?
One last. Is there any value with the radios that are still, you know, we talked about maybe giving?
Yeah, good question. So what we often do with some of those types of items is we call the smaller villages and municipalities to see if they have any need to purchase those from us. And then we work with purchasing and come up with an agreement and sell it to them at a reduced rate. Motorola will not give us any trade-in dollars for it, but we did that with our in-car cameras this last time, and I believe we sold it to Richmond and Spring Grove, so they were able to use those because they didn't have the same budget.
Thank you.
Mr. Kaminsky?
Gary, you said, when she gets the call it a rebate, you know,
Sure.
her money coming back, and you said that goes into the general, why? Can't you make an account that's specifically for them and nobody else can touch it? And we're earning interest on it?
So they're part of the general fund, so all of the
Right, I
salaries
understand that,
and
but
benefits
can't we
for the
create-
telecommunications people that we do get the grant for in prior years comes from the general fund. So really you want to match your revenue with expense, so the expenses coming out of the sheriff's department in the general fund, and we put it back into the sheriff's department in the general fund. So it's part of the big general fund budget bucket, and we do get interest, and Treasurer Kurtz has.
But that gives the opportunity other people to start pilfering out of that bucket.
It's all
They
teamwork.
need the money.
It
It
is.
was their money. Put it in their bucket.
Well, that's where we get into, you know, all departments have their needs, and then it's up for you guys to decide to prioritize those needs.
Just ask.
Even mayor.
Anybody else here? All right, we have the motion before us on the floor and a seconded to put this to a vote. And before I do that, you know, I was going to say at the beginning of the meeting, Mr. Hartman, is your first meeting for transportation as official. And welcome. And here you get into this kind of a meeting, so.
This is the good stuff.
All right. Let's proceed to a vote. Mr. Sager.
Here, yes.
Mr. Scala.
No.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Ms. Van Bergen.
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel.
Yes.
Mr. Kaminsky.
Yes.
Solidarity, I'll vote with Mr. Scala, no. So I think we should fund it someplace else, but. Okay, motion carries, moved before the floor. Okay, so let's move down to ordinances. First ordinance, 6.1. Did we got to talk about these individually, or?
I believe you could make a motion if you wanted to approve them all.
Anybody have any? Go ahead.
Or if somebody,
Let's do them individually, go ahead. Okay, motion 6.1, do I have a motion to move that
I'll
forward?
move 6.1.
Mr. Scala moves, Ms. Van Bergen seconds. Any discussion on that one? Okay. Not so, let's move. Ms. Van Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Scala?
Yes.
Mr. Sager?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel?
Yes.
Kaminsky?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. 6.2, establish a speed zone on Chapel Hill Road. Is there a motion for that? Mr. Kaminsky moves. Mr. Sager seconds. Discussion. I'm not. Let's move to a vote then. Mr. Kaminsky,
No.
Mr. Kunkel,
I would give this one a yes, though.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Sager,
Yes.
Mr. Scala,
No.
Ms. Van Bergen,
No.
and I'll vote no. That one fails. 6.3, do I have a motion for alter speed zone on Lincoln Road? Mr. Sager moves. I'll second it. Discussion.
This is the road that was brought up by members of the public relative to interest in reducing it even further. I think that there are restrictions in terms of our capacity to lower speed limits up by a certain amount, in my understanding. I'd like Scott or someone else to address that, please.
In other words, can we amend it down to 35 if someone chose to?
10 mile an hour, right? So for speed limits, the way the policy is written, I believe even IDOT, 10 mile an hour reduction is as much as you can do with that.
That's the most, okay. Is that all your, answer your question?
Yeah, so let's clarify for us, please. The recommendation is a reduction of how much?
5 miles per hour.
So the opportunity, if we wish to do so, under the state warrants, would allow us, correct, to reduce that down by 10 miles per hour. Is that correct?
I mean, I'm sure there's probably a process, but it becomes very challenging to enforce because their enforceable speed limits are driven by speed studies and injury studies.
Well, that's all numbers. That's the evaluation process, and I understand that. The question is, though, we have the legal authority to do that.
The board does,
Correct.
yes.
That's what I'm asking.
Not staff.
No, I understand, right.
The board does have the
But
authority.
I'm talking about under warrant guidelines by the states, right? That's what I'm discussing. Scott?
No. So you can do it. It's been done in the past. What we don't know is if you go into a court of law
Yeah, I understand that.
and somebody says, what did the speed study show? And let's just say, sake of argument, the entity says there was no speed study done.
Yeah.
What's the judge going to do? Probably throw the ticket out. That's going to be the same here with it, is that you have a staff recommendation. If the board overrides it or chooses something else, what's the chances of that happen? Probably
Yeah.
unlikely.
Yeah, I agree. In the city municipality, we had that discussion and argument all the time, you know, that, well, what if you go to court? I hate to play that game. What if you go to court? You know, because I think that's probably not particularly likely. And if it is, it is, and if it does, it does, but otherwise, I think you do what you think is the right thing. I concur. I think in this particular instance, it would best be reduced by 10 miles per hour. I just think that with the curve and the other, you know, extenuating conditions out there and the growth, I think that's a huge part of it right now. I think we need to look at a 10 mile per hour reduction. I know that the reductions are not popular. I understand that, but I still think it's the right thing to do.
Okay, Mr. Kunkel?
As we do in a lot of things here in McHenry County, we rely on professionals that we have at our disposal. They do a very good job here, rather than just saying no to all speed increases, because I like to go places. I have started using the studies and the numbers projected by the studies. If they're off only by a mile an hour, I'm not looking to reduce by 40. But when they do meet that threshold, as this one has, I think we have to rely on these numbers. I understand the more emotional component of it, especially in a village and or municipal area where multiple people are involved who aren't involved in the studies. Sometimes that engineering and emotion has to overlap. In this particular road, I've not been on it. Are there slow curve signs? Is there a yellow reduction speed limit signs at that curve? Nothing?
I don't know off the top of my head.
There is.
There are.
30 miles an hour.
Yeah, so that would, as an ex-law enforcement, that'd be the first thing I would suggest, is that slowing the curve. I can't see going from 45 to 35 back up to 45 because of the curve. I can see going from 45 to 40, especially with the 30 slowing them down at that curve, back up to 45 as the traffic goes. For simple engineering flow of traffic, I would have recommended the slow curve and 40 miles an hour to pick speed back to reaccelerate to 45. I'm for this to be going down to 40. Secondarily, if you want to make that 10-mile-an-hour change, could you not make that motion at the CAL to have this resolution adjusted or this speed study adjusted at that point? It's not up to this committee to make that change, is it?
Well, we could make the recommendation for the change,
Right.
and what I would probably prefer to do is to make an amendment to the motion that's before us.
Okay, accept that amendment if there's a second to it. Is there a second to that amendment? I'll second it just to get the vote for you.
That's fine.
Okay.
We know where it's going, I guess, so.
Yeah, we know where it's going. All those in favor of amendment, yes or no?
No.
Yes.
All those in favor of yes, was us too. Okay, that amendment fails. Let's proceed to the vote for as is. Mr. Sager,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel?
Yes.
Mr. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Ms. Van Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Scala?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That one is passed. 6.4, ordinance adopting established ultra speed zone for Hickory Nut Grove Road. We have a motion for that one.
So moved.
Mr. Sager moves, Mr. Thomas seconds. Okay, discussion? Okay. Ms. Von Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Scala?
No.
Mr. Sager?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel?
Yes.
Mr. Kaminsky?
No.
And I'll vote no. Okay, 6.5, ordinance to establish altered speed zone on Mason Hill Road. Motion for that. Mr. Thomas moves. Mr. Sager seconds. Okay, discussion? Okay,
I go back, I guess, to what colleague has indicated. I think that, we've got strong professionals that are working hard to evaluate these on our behalf, and they've made the recommendation, so I would support the recommendation.
okay. All right, Mr. Kaminsky,
No.
Mr. Kunkel,
I'm a no on this one.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Sager,
Yes.
Mr. Scala,
No.
Ms. Van Bergen,
No.
and I'll vote no. Motion fails. 6.6, ordinance adopt establish alter speed zone on South Union Road. Do you have a motion? Mr. Sager,
Sure.
Mr. Thomas, who seconds it?
Look at it.
Any discussion? I do drive this road, I don't understand the speed study on it, just to be honest with you.
What kind?
Go ahead.
What was it? Who requested? Maybe the cows that live along it, or?
Grafton Township in here.
Yeah, Grafton Township.
They did.
Yes.
Should have made that call before. Okay. No other discussion? I voted against them before. I'll start with Mr. Scala.
No.
Mr. Sager.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
No.
Mr. Kunkel.
No.
Mr. Kaminsky.
No.
Ms. Van Bergen.
Nope.
And I'll vote no. Okay, my understanding is all of those failed ones still move forward to the floor.
That is correct, sir.
You want to review, pass and fail on each one of those 6.2, 6.6?
Lincoln passed.
Lincoln passed and,
And so did Hickory Nut.
Yep.
yep,
Yep.
those are only two, the rest failed.
Yeah.
And if you could draw your attention under staff report at the end of your packet, we have all the speed studies that were done that were not recommended for any change. So I want to make sure everybody saw that. That was the last.
There's quite a few on that
Quite
list.
a few that we did not recommend any change.
Wow.
We also provided a list too with the requesters is in there as well. That came out the last time we brought speed studies forward. Committee asked who was requesting these and some information, crash information, so that's all.
Okay, let's move down to new business. We have some awards.
Yeah, some good news for a change. I mentioned this earlier, but just wanted to bring the committee's attention that 2 weeks ago on December 23rd, we were notified from USDOT that we secured a $2.25 million grant for the Charles and Queen Anne intersection project. It was through the Safe Streets and Roads for All program, which was started under the Biden administration to reduce traffic fatalities down to zero. And we're going to be looking at putting a roundabout at that intersection, which some of you probably are aware. We're currently about to start phase 2 this year, so we're a couple years away from construction. But this $2.25 million will go a long way towards covering the construction cost. So as far as I know, I mean, I've only been here 13 years, but I don't think that the county has ever secured a discretionary grant directly from USDOT. All of the grants we receive have been pass-throughs through IDOT and CMAP and things like that. So this might be the county's first discretionary grant directly from the U.S. government. So it's kind of a cool thing, and we were the only one in the state of Illinois to receive this grant. The only implementation grant. There were a lot of planning grants, but this was the only one for actual construction work.
Did you apply for that, or?
My team did, yeah. So our planning team, along with design, who was actually doing the design for the project, it was a team effort, and we actually enlisted the help of a consultant team as well to help us, make the grant look nice and pretty and everything else, which I think did help a lot in securing this money. So it was truly a team effort, and hopefully it's one of many to come in the next couple of years here.
Kudos to you and your team.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good job.
That's all we have from my side. I don't
Yes.
know if Darryl has an update.
No, we don't have anything else.
Okay. Any staff report?
No staff reports?
Do we have need for executive session? No?
Not today.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right, so do I have a next meeting, next meeting, January 28th. On the agenda will be the township road bridges, the discussion to come up with a plan of action with our funding situation. And since we haven't been bringing any into it, we need to have that discussion sooner rather than later. So I'd hope to have it this meeting, but we decided we'd push it back because of some of the other, this other discussion. So,
Motion to adjourn.
that will be on the agenda. Is there anything else anyone would like to address at that next meeting? Okay. Then is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Kunkel gets one, Mr. Kaminsky gets the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for your time today.